Hello, 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 beautiful people. Welcome to Girl Share Your Story, our Tuesday night conversation for transformation and inspiration. I am your girl, Chantel, and I am so happy to be with you on this wonderful Tuesday evening. It's just not even an ordinary Tuesday, it's my anniversary. So, listen, y'all. You are spending a very special moment with me, and my husband has given me permission to be here. Yes, ladies, he has to give me permission to be present, right? Especially on a day like this. So I'm glad you're with us. Those of you who are watching the replay, welcome as well. And make sure that you share this video with someone who could benefit from the jewels that will be dropped. Tonight, we have a very phenomenal guest. I like to think of all of my guests as phenomenal, but Quinn, she stands out, especially because of not only her story, but what she has done as a result of the things that she has gone through. So make sure that you come ready with your questions, share, share, share. Quinn will be answering some of those questions, and we'll also want to shout you out on screen. So make sure that you set the permission so that we are able to speak and engage and call you by name, so that we can have a wonderful interactive conversation tonight. So what are you most excited about? The title of this session is Girl Share Your Story, but most particularly, listen, turn your conversations into cash. And so let's get it started as we really hear from our special guest for tonight, Quinn Conyers. Quinn, are you there? Wonderful, wonderful. Listen, the way that we show love, Quinn, is by putting hearts inside of this chat. So make sure that you tell your people, because I know you're sharing on your page, to show you some love on the chat, because this is an intimate conversation that we just love every Tuesday night. So with that, Quinn, girl, share your story. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, and the most exciting part is what you have gone through to get you to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for the invitation. And I just love your platform and what you are doing. And I feel like a lot of times people see our breakthrough, but they have no idea what the been through has been. So I love the fact that you are highlighting that struggle on the way to success, because it can be inspiration and motivation for someone else who needs to keep going when they want to quit. So again, my name is Quinn Conyers, and I train Black women in business how to turn conversations into cash so they can profit from public speaking on and offline. I personally believe that public speaking, more importantly, presenting your voice, is the most powerful marketing strategy that you can use. But sadly, a lot of us don't understand that once you become an entrepreneur, you also become the spokesperson for your business, your book, or your brand. So that is my job, to verbalize your value. I feel like it is part of my calling to make sure that you can articulate your awesomeness. And that's how I show up and serve.
Wow, I like that part. Now, y'all are gonna really get some nice sound bites. That's what we call it in media, but some
Yes.
nuggets from Quinn. She said, your awesomeness, and I don't even know. Like you said, it's so dope. I don't even know how to rephrase it. Tell us that again, so I can make a note on my phone and use that.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to articulate your awesomeness, because
Mm,
all of us are great. But if I ask you what you do, a lot of times we explain it as if it was mediocre and it's truly magnificent. So my job is to show you how to articulate and advocate for your awesomeness. You're great. Everyone knows you're great. But if you ask yourself, you have a tough time explaining or articulating it. And that's where I come into play.
So tell us a little bit more about this whole concept of being awesome. Like at some point we do realize like, wow, I got a little bit going on and I am pretty awesome. But I know there was a time in your life where you didn't feel so awesome. So take us to that day and time. Would you, Quinn?
Yeah, there was a couple different ways. I mean, I know that I was always blessed with the gift of gab. Like God definitely was like, I'm going to send her down to earth and she's going to be a speaker and speak life into people. And I really started my journey in 2007 when I was a college student on the campus of Howard University. And that's when I got my first $750 check for speaking. The problem and issue was it wasn't necessarily consistent. So I got it like once and I was like, oh my gosh, people get paid to speak. I like this. Where can I get more of this? But it wasn't consistent enough. So I did some workshops, did some seminars. And, even after I graduated from, Howard, left DC and moved to Baltimore, where I still am now, I continue to speak and host little workshops, but it really wasn't picking up. And then I realized that you could do a workshop or a presentation and then offer your products or service after the fact. So I was like, okay, well, let me try that, because by this time it's like maybe 6 or 7 years and I'm like nickel and diming this whole speaking industry world, not really moving, not really getting any traction, and frustration started to kick in. So it was in 2014 when I lost my voice. Can you believe that? I lost my voice. Matter of fact, I lost my voice in front of 100 people. It was 2014, and I had rented out a space called Signature Blue in Hyattsville, Maryland. And at the time, I was really heavy in my bag business, purse paparazzi, and people wanted to know how they can sell products and services at various vendor events. So I was like, well, let me go and do a workshop, give them a sample of who I am, and then offer them to work with me at the back of the room like I've seen so many people do before. So that's exactly what I did. I had 170 people RSVP for this free workshop. It was a workshop from 10 to 4. I had 100 people show up. I had 4 vendors, 8 volunteers. I paid for the venue, the videographer, and the photographer. At the end of the presentation, I offered the women in the room the opportunity to work with me on a 6-week coaching program. Absolutely, positively, no one enrolled. I felt ashamed. I felt like God made a mistake. I felt like the last 7 years were a joke, and I couldn't do it anymore. I literally felt like I had exposed myself to an entire football team, and they said, no, thank you. I'm not interested. But meanwhile, after the presentation, people wanted to take pictures with me. They were congratulating me, telling me how much of a great job I did, and how much they learned from me, but they didn't invest in me. So I just felt like I'm going to put this speaking thing down, because apparently for the last 6 or 7 years, it has been going my way. And that's when I started to turn my full attention on my bag business. And until that, took me into another direction as well.
Wow, I can only imagine what that would have felt like, paying, first of all, footing the bill for such a grandiose event, and then only to think, okay, well, if I get 175 people in the building, then I should be able to make at least my break even and then make a little profit.
Correct.
And then only to leave with absolutely nothing. And on top of that, you left with incredible amounts of shame and disappointment to boot. So you were actually negative in terms of the money that you thought that you would have earned, and emotionally drained in terms of your confidence in yourself and in your business. So I think that is something that is really powerful, because here you are today speaking to millions of people on Facebook, on Instagram, and also renting out conferences and doing your thing in person as well. But it's good for our audience to see that it has not always been like that. And what you are seeing right now, before you, my sisters who are in our Facebook group, those who are in Quinn's Facebook group, Speak Black Woman, it's important for you to know that you should not compare your beginning with someone's middle. You should not compare where you are right now with where someone was 10 or 15 years ago, because each of us have our own story. We have our own journey, and it's really up to us to keep pushing and using moments like this, conversations like this, to remind ourselves to keep going no matter what. So Quinn, tell me how it was after you broke down your retractable banner and you put the microphones away, and it was just you in the mirror at the end of the day, having to decide if you were going to continue on this path or if you were going to pack everything up. What was that conversation like, and why did you choose to leave it alone for the amount of years that you did?
It was anger. I was just mad. I felt like I would always get compliments on how powerful my voice was. I always knew that speaking life into people, that was something I was good at. I mean, I had several instances when I would speak and opportunities would open. So I just couldn't understand why the conversion wasn't happening. And that wasn't necessarily the first and last event. It was a combination of me doing, events and couldn't sell a $30 ticket. It was just like the icing on the cake. So I was done. I was disconnected. I was mad. I was gonna say, I think I was cussing and it wasn't on a Sunday. I just was upset. I was just like, what am I doing? So I just felt like it's time to do something different. Like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And thank God there was a couple other instances and opportunities that literally proved me wrong. Because again, when you think that you're done, you think that you're going to throw in the towel, you think that, it's not your time, it's not your season. There are people that will come into your life, or visions or reoccurring themes that will confirm something that you tried to put away. And that's literally what started happening as well, between me pitching at the Black Enterprise elevator pitch competition to a friend of mine, pulling me to the side, asking me when's my next workshop. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I quit. So there's several things that happened after that pulled me back into the direction where I'm currently serving.
So as we really appreciate the conversation that Quinn is sharing with us, I want you to make sure that you type your questions in the chat, because we will have time to answer those. But Quinn, I have a question. You mentioned this thing called seasons, and in the book of Ecclesiastes, it talks about for everything there is an appointed time and an appointed season under the sun. And I believe in that. I believe that each of us has the ability to flow with the season that we're in, or decide that we're gonna sit it out. And so tell us about how a woman could know if it truly is her season to, just be under the radar and not pursue that course that she wants to publish, or not start speaking to audiences. How do you discern between what your season is and what it isn't?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure if I have the full-fledged answer to that, because I feel like God speaks to people differently. And sometimes we can say it's supposed to be a quiet season when we're really afraid. So I feel like sometimes we
Mm.
misdiagnose emotions, as far as, are you being quiet because you're really scared to pursue that? Or are you being loud because it's an insecurity that's really speaking? So I always find that a tough line, to answer for other people. But when it comes to me, I just feel like repetition. Like, if something starts happening over and over again, or three people tell me, hey, when's your next X, Y, and Z, then I'm
Right.
like, okay, maybe this is on to something. I remember really getting some clarity. I actually funded my bag business through business pitch competitions. And if you're not familiar with business pitch competitions, it's when you give your best 30, 60-second, or 90-second elevator pitch. Well, I've always had a background in speaking. So I was like, oh, I didn't feel comfortable going to the bank or getting a line of credit. So let me go ahead and try my hand at these business pitch competitions. So I started to enter them, and I started to win them. $5,000 here, 10,000 here, here and there, up until about $77,000. But there was one particular business pitch competition that I lost, and it really reshaped me as an entrepreneur. Black Enterprise Magazine has a business pitch competition. They pick 10 entrepreneurs to pitch their business, and the grand prize winner gets 10 grand. So I was selected. So I flew to Chicago. I had 60 seconds to pitch my business. 5 of us were eliminated, and we had 30 more seconds to pitch our business. I mean, literally, talk about a 90-second opportunity, right? So I go there, I pitch, I'm one of the last 5 standing, and I lost. As I'm trying to exit the stage, I see a woman looking at me, and she's taking notes, and she's looking at me, and she's taking notes. And finally, we're face to face, and she says, hi, I'm a writer for Black Enterprise Magazine. I would like to feature you and your story in one of our upcoming issues. And I looked at her and I said, ma'am, I don't know if you were at the same competition that I was at, but I lost. And she's like, I'm very aware who won this competition, but I like the way you pitch. And in
Mm.
that moment, I realized that even though I lost, my gift of speaking still was very apparent to her, because all I did was speak for 90 seconds. And that was just another way of someone coming in my life and confirming that I need to start using my voice again.
Yes, that is such a powerful point. Use your voice again. Type it in the chat if you agree with that. Use your voice again. Use your voice again. I believe that it is important for us to remember that not every time that we try, we're going to win. But it is important that every time you try, you use your voice again. because there will be the person who is sitting in front of you in the audience who responds to the message that you're delivering. Go in your speaking, go in your business thinking with the mindset that if you have the ability to just touch one person, that is success. Because a lot of times we have these overwhelming goals that really overwhelm us to the point where we're like, okay, if we don't make the number one spot, then that's it. But listen, this is an example that you are supposed to use your voice again and again and again. And eventually it gets easier. Eventually you start winning, but you have to be consistent in using your voice. So let's go over to the chat. Hello, Dorinthia. Hi, Sunday. Hi, Ebony. Ebony has a question for Quinn. What are the best things to include in your business pitch?
So I love that question. So one of the biggest things and why I win a lot of competitions is because most people focus on an elevator pitch or a business pitch, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You've heard a million and one times that you want to be able to clearly define what it is that you do and the time it takes to ride from the bottom floor to the top floor of the elevator. I completely disagree. I think that many entrepreneurs were lied to about the elevator pitch because when we give our elevator pitch or our business pitch, it's very boring and basic. So one of the things that I recommend if you are giving your business pitch is not to have a business pitch at all, but really upgrade your message or give your message a makeover and have a verbal business card. And that is a clear, concise, and compelling way to explain or articulate what it is that you do that takes people from interested in working with you to invested in working with you after just one conversation. So leave the business pitch literally in 2017, 2018, 2019, or even in 2020 and focus on how can I verbalize your value? How can I articulate my awesomeness? And that comes into being able to have a verbal business card. And that again is being clear, concise, and compelling when explaining what you do. Because most people who explain what they do in their business pitch, they're very generic, boring, and basic, and people are overlooking them not because their products or service aren't great, Ebony, but because the way they explained it was so mediocre that people don't even want to learn more about their product or service.
Yeah, that is so true. You have to have some type of sizzle in your sauce. I mean, there are restaurants who serve the same type of steak, but there's one restaurant in particular that you always remember whenever you're craving steak because they added a little extra in their sauce. And your secret sauce, what I like to tell people, Quinn, is that your secret sauce is going to be your story. The reason why there are tons of coaches and trainers and transformational speakers out there that some get hired to speak for 25,000, 50,000 for one speaking engagement, and there are many who are speaking for free, is their ability to capture audiences, not only with their content, but with their story. So like Quinn said, you want to make sure that you have something extra that's not the traditional elevator pitch, but something that's going to allow your business to stand out. And that's what she specializes in, turning your conversations into cash so that every time you open your mouth, there's some type of value being exchanged. People don't buy because you have the great product. They buy based on the problems that you solve and the desires that you create. And so in every conversation, you want those two components to be included in your message so that they can walk away saying, wow, I got tremendous value from this conversation. Just like this conversation today. Quinn, I thank you because I'm getting tremendous value because you decided to use your voice again. Thank you, my sister. So tell us about the time when you were in Shark Tank. I mean, it was multiple times apparently, and what that whole experience was like.
Yeah. So at the time, I was really heavy in my bag business. I was, the chief fashion officer of the Purse Paparazzi, and I allowed women to carry what they care about. So I specialized in custom purses for Black women who were members of a sorority or went to an HBCU. So I was licensed to create purses for the AKAs, the Deltas, the Zetas, and the Sigma Gamma Rhos. And our business was going very, very well. So at the time, I was like, you know what? Why not try my luck at Shark Tank? And literally, we had 60 seconds to pitch our business. And I pitched my business for the first time. And I literally they told us if they like what they heard, they would get back to us, within 4 to 6 weeks. Well, I got a phone call, and it was a California number, and she says, "Hey, Quinn, this is Karen from Shark Tank." Well, I almost dropped the phone because I couldn't even believe it. I had to get myself together and put on my professional voice. And I'm like, "Yes, this is Quinn." And she's like, "Yes, I loved your pitch, and I want to advance you to the second round of Shark Tank." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is so amazing." So I did go to the second round and I did not get selected. But from what I hear, that the second round is the hardest to get to because so many people try out and the second round is like, how do you get there? And you're in front of, various producers. You're not in front of Mark Cuban or Damon John or Mr. Wonderful quite yet. You have to go through casting directors. So I'm pretty resilient after rejection. So I tried out again and again and again. And all 4 times I kept making it to the second round, but I never actually got on the show. So I was a little bit defeated because I just felt like, again, here was an opportunity. I kept getting close, but not close enough to make it. And I remember I was went to go see Damon John speak, and I told him a little bit about my story about Shark Tank, and he's like, "Girl, you just getting started." I was like, "Excuse me?" He said, "Yeah, half the people that you see on Shark Tank, they've auditioned 8 or 9 times before they actually appeared on the show." Talk about a perspective change. And what I learned in that moment was our first, second, or third try, we're willing to give up. And that's when people are just getting their groove. So Shark Tank, originally after that 4th time, really kind of put my confidence down and my self-esteem down. I'm just like, what is it? Why can't I advance? Not realizing that, most people who do get on the show, and I'm sure there's some anomalies, have done this 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, So again, I wouldn't even gotten to the second round had I not used my voice, had I not shot my shot. So again, here's another way that my voice, my gift of gab made room for me. So now I can say that I've auditioned and made it to the Shark Tank, auditions 4 times, where some people are afraid to even audition once, let alone twice, let alone 3 times, let alone 4 times. It can do something to your self-esteem.
That's right, man. That's the science behind success, right? Is that you have to do it over and over and over again and not be afraid to fail. And people quit, Quinn. I believe we quit too quickly before we see results. Like I remember when I graduated from with my master's at American University, I was like, man, I can't really see myself going to corporate America. But if I go, I got to make $70,000 a year and have a hustle, or else I'm gonna go sell drugs. That was before. That was before I was saved, bro. That was before. And I was straight from Baltimore, right? I was like,
listen, no judgment. I understand.
And so, it didn't work out where I made $70,000 a year and had a legitimate hustle, and I did not go sell drugs, y'all. But what I did do was that I just became really intentional about not quitting. I was like, okay, I have established what my lane is, what my gifts are. I know I'm great at PR. I know I can do some marketing, and I'm a good communicator. So let me just see what else is out here in that genre of professionalism before I just pack it up and say, okay, I'm gonna just totally turn my life around. So what I did was I actually just started to explore. I got internships. I started working for free. I started dabbling in the world of my skill set before I decided that I needed to do something different. And I think that is the thing that 2020 is teaching us, is that we have to be resourceful. So like you may have a business right now or be working for a company, you can absolutely use those same skills to retool and start working for yourself. Maybe you don't jump out there and start, a full-time business as an entrepreneur and like leave the consistent money alone. Maybe you just start to scale into your entrepreneurial calling incrementally. But whatever you do, don't quit on the gift, just pivot the gift if necessary.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, no, you're absolutely right. And I feel like one of the things that, I just feel like I'm going to go against the grain a little bit. And I feel like a lot of times, especially in 2020, we're talking about pivoting, and everybody doesn't need to pivot. Some of us need to persevere. Some of us are just like literally hitting a little bit of bump in the road. Oh my gosh, COVID-19, I can't do anything anymore, right? Whereas we are forgetting our resourcefulness. We're forgetting how to be a problem solver. We have become comfortable in the way that we've done things that when we hit a little bit of, pushback, a little bit of, adversity, that we completely stop and do nothing, versus sometimes it is called for to pivot, but then other times it's really time for you to put your big girl panties on and persevere through and show God and show clients how much you really want this. If you are able to be stopped at a little bump in the road, what you going to do when you see that mountain? So that's why, and you mentioned something about being intentional, why I intentionally choose Black women in business, because a lot of times there's been so many things that has happened that has muted or muzzled their voice, that they don't even know how to speak up for their business, let alone themselves. So that's why it's very important to me to give Black women their voice back in business so they can prosper, regardless of what. Some people lost it at home, and there's so many things within the Black community, don't tell our business in the house, so we start being quiet. Or you get to corporate America, you might be the only Black woman who is there. Or you start speaking up at meetings, and all of a sudden you literally, people get looking at you, so you start being quiet, and now you jump into this world of being an author, or you jump in this world of being a business coach, or you jump in this world of being a speaker, and you don't even know how to use your voice, or you're downplaying your greatness. And that's where I come in again, about intentionally choosing Black women, because at the end of the day, it's because of Black women that I was able to feed my family and quit my job. More specifically, Black women who are in sororities is how I built a full-fledged bag business.
I love that. I love that. Just checking on the sound a bit. Do you have another video StreamYard window open on your end?
Me? No.
No? Okay. My husband is also my producer. He produces my show, y'all. So he said,
okay, husband, wife team, I love it.
He's like, check your audio settings. So anyway, we're just going to persevere. We're not going to pivot the conversation. We're going to persevere through this interview. And thank you all for joining us and really giving your feedback. I love what I'm seeing in the chat. Use your voice again. Yes, use your voice again, because you never know when that person that is supposed to hear your message will show up and give you an opportunity. And so with that, tell us, Quinn, what drives you and what allows you to keep showing up time and time again, no matter the setbacks? You mentioned it a little bit about your desire to help women, but what is that internal motivation that you have for yourself that keeps you going?
Many people fear fear. I don't fear fear. I fear regret. I don't want to get to the pearly gates or get to the end of my time here as a physical being, wondering what could have, should have, or would have happened if I would have pursued the desires that were in my heart. So what keeps me going is just fulfillment overall. Like when I leave, I want to leave everything on earth. So a lot of times we are afraid to go after certain things, or we don't want to fail, or we're fear of, are we going to look, crazy, or people are going to understand us. But I live on a whole different frequency of, what if I get to that point and I'm looking like, wow, what would it have been like if I was 25, I would have bought the house? What would it have been like if I would have given my all to that business? Or what would have been if I really would have intentionally chose a target market who I knew that I could super serve? So what drives me is just to live a filled life, as like living on purpose, and just operating in purpose. And that's why I knew that it was time for me to make some changes within the bag business to really come back to speaking, because I would sell bags and it was fun, but I was making six figures and I was unfulfilled. Whereas when I speak life into a woman and I show her not what she thinks she does, but who she truly is, there is a euphoria that I can't even explain.
I love it. I love it. So tell us more about it. I mean, there are so many women who are watching this now and who check the replay as well, who have a voice, and maybe they have underutilized their voice, or they are just discovering that it's possible to monetize their message. How do you help women, and how could they learn more about your services?
Yeah. So one of the first things that I do is I teach them that they are not the help, but they are the hero. A lot of times when it comes to Black women, we mean well, and we've been in such a servant and inferior position that we take on the responsibility of being the help, especially as women in business. So what happens is when we are marketing our products and services, we can help you start a business. We can help you get your taxes done. We can help you brand yourself. We can help you with PR. We can help you, help you, help you. And what happens is you are putting into the world, you are putting into the atmosphere that you are the help. And what you do is so great. And what you do as a Black woman is so amazing. And your experience and your expertise can't be found in a book, and it can't be Googled. So my job is to teach you how to shift the narrative and what you do, so you can coach, you can teach, you can train, you can empower, you can elevate, you can dominate, you can assist, but you don't help anyone. So I show people how to remove words like help, which I call discount dialect, and replace it with luxury language. So when people hear what you do, they are immediately drawn to you and not want to have another, hey girl, hey, can I pick your brain kind of session. And I see this very just paramount with Black women, and just showing them how to have money conversations versus hustling conversations. So when they get on these discovery calls, they're not, frustrated that nobody wants to buy, but they just want to have a pick your brain session, or girl, I just need some tips. But it's the way you positioned yourself.
That is key. That is key. It's the way that you position yourself. And man, I mean, y'all got to talk back to me now. I know this is some keys, some jewels that she's dropping. Just the whole mindset shift that you no longer have to be the help. I'm going to help you out. Oh, I don't mind helping, but no, I'm going to be the hero in your business. I am going to help. I'm going to elevate your
Yeah.
conversation and really rescue those. You said something powerful earlier. Dialect versus luxury language. Discount
Yeah.
dialect versus
Discount
luxury
uh-huh.
language.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's deep.
Yeah, discount dialect is words and phrases that put your greatness on discount. It's words and phrases that really position you as, again, mediocre when you're magnificent. And help is just one of those words. But what I have
What
found
are
it
some other? Sorry, what are some other discount dialects so that we can begin to see ourselves in the mirror a bit?
just, oh, what do you do? Oh, I just have a bag business. Little, oh, what do you do? Oh, I just do taxes on the side a little bit. Those are words that you shrink instead of standing tall in your greatness. But I know why, because a lot of us have been told to be humble. We're not told to kind of toot our own horn. Well, I'm about to change my title to professional horn tutor, because I feel like I meet so many great women and they're not moving or advancing, and they literally are the Louis Vuitton type of brand, but they're positioning themselves as Payless because they don't know the right words, because they want to be helpful. And I just get really simple examples. I can help you start a business, for I can equip you to start a business. Completely different. So it's just about being intentional about the words that you're using and literally speaking life into what you do, so you can become attractive to the client and customer who desperately needs you and will happily invest if you position it correctly.
If you position it correctly, absolutely. Sunday's like, yes, preach. She's like dropping diamonds, diamonds, diamonds. Yes. And someone said, she is blowing my mind. Yes, y'all, man. And she is the real deal. And so speaking about this whole idea of having people want to be attracted to us and our persona, our conversations, and our offering language is so compelling that people are just drawn to want to invest in what we have to offer. I know there was a time where you got a particularly flattering testimonial from someone whose business you helped to uplift and empower. Talk to us about that testimonial, the one on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so I was asked to speak at a LinkedIn live event before COVID kind of hit. LinkedIn was wanting more people to connect outside of the platform, so they invited me to speak at the Silver Spring. And Brian, who was a Caucasian guy, was the one who actually booked me. And I remember every time after I speak, I always ask for a testimonial, just so I let people know, like, this is what I'm doing. I didn't start this yesterday. I've been doing this for a while. well. And I remember afterwards reading it, I had to take a second. And I'm a speaker, y'all. So if I'm speechless, that means you really got me. And I remember his testimonial really like rocking my world. And he said, Quinn, it was my pleasure to hear you speak. I want to stay in your orbit because stars like you have a gravitational pull.
Hmm.
I am happily married, but my love language is obviously words of affirmation. I'm looking at this white guy who I am not attracted to. I'm about to get down on one knee because I'm like, what'd you just say to me? You know what I mean? So he just reinforced, like he said stars like, I want to stay in your orbit, not your world, not your planet, but your orbit. So I can tell that the message that I present that night just really had a profound effect on him, that he was able to verbalize, that he wanted to stay in my orbit because stars like me have a gravitational pull. Like, sir, where do you come from? Who made you? Like, I mean, it just literally touched my insides. It like made my heart smile. I mean, I literally was like showing people like, did you see? It was like a report card of a fifth grader. Like I got straight A's. I'm just like, did you see what this man said about me? So it just again confirmed that I'm on the right place just by using my voice and giving tips to entrepreneurs. And they weren't all Black women. I mean, they were, mostly white men. So I knew that it's deeper than just me talking to women. It's deeper than color. It's about just showing people how much richness, how much value, how their whisper holds weight when it comes to their business or their occupation.
Yes, that is so awesome. And I agree with Brian that I want to stay in your orbit. And I know those who are watching want to stay in that orbit as well. And so tell us, Quinn, what exciting projects do you have going on and how can we be a part of them?
Yeah, I'm really excited right now. I am in the middle of a great movement called Speak Black Woman. SpeakBlackWoman.com is where you can go and join my Facebook community. And I'm doing a lot of things around that. I'm dropping a book pretty soon called Speak Black Woman, how women in business can turn conversations into cash. I'm coming out with a couple different products around the Speak Black Woman movement and just really making sure that I am speaking life into entrepreneurs, especially ones who have some melanin in their blood. So I am, speaking, training, doing a lot of things virtually, but really just excited to have some time to kind of reset and focus on the things that I love to do. But the Speak Black Woman movement literally was birthed during this quarantine. This was not on my yearly plan, for 2020. Back in December 2019, I didn't even see any of this coming, but literally I was preparing for quarantine as if I was about to have another baby. I was literally in a hair braiding shop when the idea came to me to start a Facebook group for Black women in business who are also speakers and presenters. And I was just like, well, there's a million Facebook groups. Why would somebody want to join mine? And I did a quick poll. I went on Facebook and I said, hey, if I start a Facebook group for Black women in business who are also entrepreneurs and speakers, would you be interested? Maybe within an hour, I had 180 comments saying yes. And that's when I took action. So the Speak Black Woman movement is, oh my gosh, something that is in its infancy stages. But once we kind of, feed this thing and get it moving, there is so many ways that I'm going to pimp the passion of Speak Black Woman and have so many arms coming out of this thing that Black women who want to monetize and maximize speaking opportunities and requests, whether they're hosting on their own bed or getting invited to do podcasts or, asked to do virtual events and they're not getting paid, that's where I can show you how to monetize and maximize that and use speaking as your number one marketing strategy.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm glad that you decided to put that wisdom in a gift for everyone, which is the gift of your group. So if you are a Black woman and you want to speak, or you're already speaking and want to take it to the next level, make sure that you go and join that group so that Quinn can mentor you in that way. Quinn, thank you so much for investing your time. See, I got my language right.
Yeah.
You invested your time. You invested your time with us. We appreciate you. I appreciate you, and I look forward to the next conversation. And remember, if you are someone who has a story and you want to turn your story into a book, make sure that you go to girlshareyourstory.com, and we'll be sharing some very important details on how you can do exactly that. I'm your host, Chantel, And we'll see you next Tuesday for another powerful episode of Girl, Share Your Story. Take care.